provided by Thomas Allgeier and Fredis, based on the most relevant posts on LinkedIn about account-based marketing in CW 26 and 27. Fredis is a B2B market research company working with enterprises to optimize their campaigns with research-grade account profiling and insights. You can find more info in the description.
So I want you to imagine throwing just the most elaborate, expensive dinner party of your entire life, you know?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So you've rented out this stunning architectural venue. You hired a Michelin star chef for a tasting menu. The playlist is perfect. But then the doors finally open and the room is completely empty.
Oh, wow. That's a nightmare.
Exactly. And it's empty because, well, you mailed all those gorgeous invitations to random addresses in a totally different city.
That's a brutal image. But honestly, it captures the current reality for like a vast majority of account-based marketing motions right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Teams are spending an absolute fortune on campaign aesthetics, the software, the ad spend, but they were talking to the wrong people at the wrong time with just completely the wrong message. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Happy to be here.
Today we are exploring the top ABM trends that we've recently seen across LinkedIn, just pulling from the most relevant discussions so we can figure out how to actually get the right guests to your revenue dinner party.
Yeah, and the overarching mission of our analysis today is really to map out this massive shift in how these strategies operate, because the landscape of B2B marketing is aggressively transitioning.
Away from those isolated kind of hopeful marketing campaigns, right?
Right, exactly. We are seeing a major move toward highly integrated revenue systems. So to help you scale your own strategy, we need to unpack 4 things.
Oh.
The operating models, the actual mechanics of signal-based prioritization, the sort of double-edged sword of AI execution, and finally, the psychology of engaging complex buying committees.
Let's start with the bedrock of that shift first, the underlying strategy, because before a team even considers layering on complex AI agents or tracking digital intent signals, the foundational operating model just has to be completely locked in.
Right, because technology cannot fix a broken strategy.
It just accelerates it. And Lydia Johnson and Mark Bramble brought up a really crucial distinction here. They argue that ABM is not a marketing tactic.
Right.
It is not just, a segmented list. It's a commercial conversation that requires total operational commitment across marketing, sales, and customer success.
Yeah, and they're actually advocating for a shift in nomenclature entirely, moving from ABM, account-based marketing, to ABX, account-based experience.
Exactly, right.
And the reasoning there is heavily rooted in buyer psychology. I mean, your buyer doesn't experience your organization's departments independently.
No, they don't care about your internal org chart.
Exactly. They don't conceptualize a division between your marketing team and your sales team. They just experience one single company. So if sales and marketing aren't executing against the exact same target accounts with unified messaging, that friction is immediately visible to the prospect.
Which is so true. But I would argue that, silos happen because teams are operating off of totally different definitions of who they even supposed to be targeting in the first place.
Oh, absolutely.
Like marketing might be chasing these really broad industry categories, while sales is just focused on individual relationships they've built. And Magana Fate shared this great audit process for this. It's a 5-check system for building a legitimate target account list.
Yeah, I saw that. Her point was basically that if your list is just a company name, a LinkedIn page, an employee count, and a generic industry tag, you don't actually have a strategy.
You have a wish list.
Right, you have a wish list. So let's break down the mechanics of Magana's 5-check, starting with subverticals. Because filtering by a broad vertical, like, say, finance, is functionally useless today.
Because it's just too massive.
Exactly. A regional credit union, a high-frequency trading firm, and a global payment gateway, they're all technically in finance, but their buying motions, their regulatory burdens, and their pain points are entirely different. You have to filter by the specific subvertical.
Right, which makes total sense. And then the second check involves tech stack constraints. If you're selling a product that integrates seamlessly with Salesforce, but your target account is contractually locked into HubSpot for the next 3 years.
You're just burning cash by marketing to them.
Literally burning it. Or, if they only procure software through the AWS marketplace and your company isn't listed there, you face an administrative wall that a standard sales cycle simply cannot break through.
Which leads directly into her 3rd check. And this one is huge. It requires isolating the revenue of the specific division you are selling into, rather than just looking at the parent company's total revenue.
Oh man. That is a trap I see constantly. A team targets this massive $40 billion enterprise, and they assume, like, unlimited budget availability.
Right, they see the big logo and get excited.
But the specific software division they are actually trying to sell into only generates maybe $2 million a year. If your pricing and your messaging are calibrated for a $40 billion behemoth, you will sound completely out of touch with the actual buyers running that scrappy little division.
Yeah, that nuance is just critical. And her fourth check demands identifying genuine growth signals. So, moving beyond static demographics and searching for dynamic events.
Like a new hire.
Yeah, like a recent executive hire in the relevant department, or a strategic acquisition, or even a newly announced investment area. That kind of data reveals who is actually actively expanding their budget rather than a company just maintaining the status quo.
Right, you want to catch them in motion.
Exactly. And finally, the fifth check is just a raw feasibility test. It asks a really blunt question. If this dream account raised their hand tomorrow and asked to buy, could your team actually successfully sell to them and service them?
Right, like if your current security compliance is lacking, or your geographic reach falls short.
Yeah.
They do not belong on your target list, period.
Nope. Take them off.
But, okay, I want to push back a little on the broader concept of building these lists, what the industry called the TAM, the total addressable market. Because the conventional wisdom is that you go to a massive data provider, set your filters based on those 5 checks, download the spreadsheet, and boom, that is your market. It feels very definitive.
It feels definitive, but it's really not.
Right. Jack Catine actually warns against this exact behavior. He argues that relying on a single database leaves you blind to 30% of your ideal market.
Yeah, and that's a structural flaw in how these data providers actually operate. Every single tool relies on completely different scraping methodologies, different public records, different update cycles.
Right.
Like some might heavily overweight public tax filings while others just rely on unstructured web scraping. And because of API limits and just general data decay, no single tool captures the entire universe of accounts.
It's like, imagine trying to navigate a massive, sprawling city, but the map you bought at the gas station has 30% of the streets completely erased from the paper.
That's a perfect analogy.
You might have the best vehicle in the world, the most optimized ad creatives, the best copywriting, but you are physically incapable of driving down those hidden streets. Those accounts never see a display ad, they never get an email, no intent signal is ever tracked.
Yeah, if your foundational TAM is 30% off, your entire revenue motion is permanently capped at 70% capacity, which is just a massive competitive disadvantage.
It really is.
And even if a team manages to perfectly map their external market using multiple data sources, Landing introduced a variable that so many leaders ignore, which is internal alignment.
Yes.
You have to personalize your ABM strategy for your own internal sales team just as deeply as you personalize it for the external buyer.
That shifts the perspective entirely, honestly. We obsess over the buyer's journey, but Lon points out that a modern sales floor is, like, generationally and methodologically fractured.
Very fractured.
You have traditional reps who have spent a decade perfecting their own outbound rhythm. They are highly relationship-driven. They often view heavily automated marketing plays as just a total disruption.
Right, and then you have Gen Y reps who will embrace new software, provided it clearly reduces their friction, and Gen Z reps who just expect hyper-automation for everything, from list building to CRM hygiene.
So the operational reality is, if leadership forces this complex, highly automated landing page tool onto a traditional rep who despises that workflow, the adoption rate drops to 0.
The campaign dies, not because the market rejected it, but because the internal delivery mechanism just failed. The plays actually have to be adapted to fit the working styles of the humans expected to execute them.
Okay, but here is the inherent flaw with even the most perfectly aligned, internally adopted target list. A company might be an absolutely flawless fit on paper, but if they aren't looking to buy right now, your perfectly crafted outreach is just noise.
Yeah, it's just spam at that point.
Exactly. That's the gap between knowing WHO to target and knowing when to strike. Which brings us to our second theme, the mechanics of real-time, signal-based prioritization.
Moving from static list targeting to dynamic signal tracking is really where we see the most significant revenue acceleration. Finn Thormeyer explored this in his analysis of Trinity and Nguyen's strategy over at UserGems.
Yeah, that was a fascinating breakdown.
It really was. So they operate with a defined market of about 10,000 accounts. But instead of running this continuous low-level burn of outbound activity against all 10,000, they monitor 40 distinct signals across those accounts in real time.
Let's dissect how those signals actually function, because a signal is only valuable if it correlates to an actual buying window.
Right.
They track company-level signals, like a recent Series C funding announcement or a major shift in product positioning. But they also track person-level signals.
Yeah, like a known champion within an account securing a promotion to a decision-making role.
Exactly. But the complexity really lies in the weighting of those signals. They take all 40 data points and run them through an algorithm designed to match the specific characteristics of their historical closed-won deals.
So by analyzing what events preceded their most successful sales, the algorithm ranks the top 500 warmest accounts each month.
And then the sales team focuses 100% of their outbound bandwidth exclusively on that deeply prioritized cohort. That hyper-focus on timing drove 30% of their net new ARR.
Which is huge.
Yeah, meaning brand new annual recurring revenue from completely new customers, not just upsells.
But that kind of precision requires a flawless handoff between the marketing technology that's tracking the signal and the human actually tasked with engaging the account. Bala introduced a framework for this called Stage 10 lead routing.
Stage 10, right?
Yeah, think of Stage 10 as the final critical mile in a relay race. The exact moment an ABM program quietly falls apart is the time delay between a high-value signal firing in the background and a sales rep actually picking up the phone.
Because the decay rate on intent data is incredibly fast.
So fast. If a buyer is researching a specific pain point on your pricing page, their attention span for a solution is measured in hours, not days.
Yeah.
Bala's routing methodology closes that gap through simultaneous automated system actions. The moment an aggregated score crosses a defined intent threshold, the system automatically writes data into the CRM, directly assigns an actionable task to the appropriate rep, and pings a dedicated Slack channel with the full context of the signals.
See, I look at a system tracking 40 different signals and instantly firing off Slack notifications. And my immediate concern is alert fatigue.
Oh, for sure.
If I'm an account executive and my Slack is just pinging every time a prospect updates their LinkedIn headline or clicks a blog link, I am muting that channel by Tuesday afternoon. The noise would just drown out the actual buying intent.
And that is the exact trap of poorly configured systems. But the magic of Stage 10 routing isn't in capturing the raw volume of signals, it's in the threshold scoring. The system is designed to absorb the noise. It aggregates those micro events, weighs them against the historical conversion data, and only routes the account to a human when the combined score indicates immediate actionability.
So they aren't getting pinged for every little click.
Exactly. Furthermore, Bala notes that this automated routing solves a massive cultural issue, which is the classic territory battle where two reps fight over who owns an account that suddenly shows intent. When a neutral, rules-based system makes the routing decision instantly, that internal friction just vanishes.
That is a huge relief for sales managers, I'm sure. So, okay, if you have an airtight TAM and you have algorithms perfectly timing the market and routing the accounts, the next logical hurdle is execution bandwidth.
Yes.
Like, how does a lean team actually handle the volume of highly targeted outreach required? This is where the industry is aggressively turning to AI. But we really need to explore the double-edged sword of this trend.
The tension between AI-led execution and what practitioners are now calling AI slop.
Yes, AI slop. Though, to be fair, the leverage that AI offers small teams is unprecedented right now. We are seeing individual marketers execute campaigns that previously required an entire agency.
Yeah, Nicole Siltanovsky actually open-sourced a directory of 24 distinct AI agents designed to run across 7 stages of a campaign. And these aren't just simple text generators.
No, they are agents that pass data to one another. Let's trace that workflow for a second. You could have one AI agent specifically trained to build lookalike lists based on your best customers.
Right.
That agent feeds the data to a second agent designed to scrape the recent digital footprint of those accounts. That research is then passed to a third agent tasked with drafting highly personalized opening emails, while a fourth agent just sits on the website ready to classify the intent of any replies that come in.
It's wild. Steph Bien advocates for this approach as well, actually advising founders to build 10 core functions inside large language models like Claude, things like custom lead scoring, web research, sentiment analysis before they authorize budget for expensive specialized software tools.
The sheer administrative velocity is just undeniable.
It is. But, and this is a big but Sri Krishna Swaminathan issued a pretty profound warning about this exact capability. He argued that AI hasn't necessarily improved B2B marketing. In many cases, it has simply amplified bad marketing at an unprecedented scale.
Yes, creating a massive dust storm of volume completely devoid of strategic thinking.
Judith Sabo summarized this dynamic perfectly. She said, AI mirrors your mess, then accelerates it.
Mirrors your mess. That is a critical observation, because before generative AI, if a marketer had a fundamental misunderstanding of their buyer's pain points, they might write a poorly conceived email sequence or launch a misguided ad campaign.
Right.
But the damage to the brand was naturally contained by their own physical bandwidth. They could only write so many bad emails a day.
Yeah, but today, that same marketer can use AI to generate 10,000 accounts in minutes, draft 500 email variants, and launch 40 landing pages that all perfectly articulate the wrong message.
Exactly. Shari expanded on this by pointing out that personalizing 500 emails with a single click is not the flex that marketers think it is.
Not at all.
Think of AI as a high-speed manufacturing assembly line. The machine itself is incredibly efficient. But if the raw materials you feed onto that line, your core messaging, your understanding of the subvertical, your differentiation, if those are garbage, the assembly line doesn't fix it.
No, you haven't improved your marketing. You have just figured out how to manufacture garbage much, much faster.
Exactly, which is why the most sophisticated teams aren't using AI to simply generate more outbound noise.
Right. They are deploying it to clear the administrative hurdles, the list scrubbing, the data formatting, the preliminary research, so that the human practitioners actually have the cognitive space to focus on complex strategy, deep segmentation, and creative problem solving.
Right. Because no matter how perfectly an AI optimizes those 500 emails, or how flawlessly an algorithm scores intent, like a bot cannot read the room, the corporate boardroom,
No.
It cannot negotiate with a human. So the final evolution of this process requires stepping away from the technology entirely to engage the buying committee.
Which is our final theme today. Edward Kowalski argues that modern ABM is ultimately about building consensus across a highly fragmented group of stakeholders.
Yeah, the complexity of enterprise sales dictates that the average purchase now involves economic buyers guarding the budget, technical evaluators analyzing the security risks, and business users focused on daily workflow.
You have to build consensus across all of those distinct agendas simultaneously.
And Vinita Makhija shared a painfully real example of what happens when you ignore this. She was managing a massive deal that was fundamentally 80% closed. It had been moving beautifully through the pipeline for 9 weeks.
9 weeks? Wow.
And then it completely died in a single meeting that she wasn't even invited to attend.
So why did a deal with that much momentum just collapse in one room?
Because they fell into the trap of single threading. Her team found a lone champion inside the target company who loved the product. But when that champion walked into a 13-person risk committee meeting, he was holding a slide deck that Vinita's team had tailored exclusively to his specific operational needs.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It had absolutely no messaging designed for the chief financial officer who was concerned about ROI. It had nothing for the legal team analyzing compliance or the security architects looking at data flow. Because the reps failed to map the committee and arm their champion with arguments for every stakeholder, the committee killed the deal instantly.
Man, that hurts. But it highlights a structural issue in sales where compensation and pressure often incentivize speed over depth. Reps get, happy ears when they find one enthusiastic buyer and they just stop digging.
Yep.
You have to map the entire committee. And in a landscape where every single buyer on that committee is buried under that AI dust storm of perfectly generated, perfectly polite, automated emails, raw, unscalable human connection is what actually breaks through the noise.
Megan Garris shared a phenomenal tactic regarding this. Her team was trying to penetrate highly guarded accounts, and instead of optimizing, another cold email sequence, they physically sent boxes of high-end donuts to the offices of their target accounts.
I love this.
A rep actually walked the box in and handed it directly to the CEO's desk.
And the immediate ROI was obvious, right? The CEO emailed the rep to express gratitude before the rep even had a chance to execute a follow-up task.
Exactly.
But Megan pointed out that the strategic victory wasn't the donuts themselves. It was how the campaign fundamentally altered the psychology of her sales reps.
How so?
Well, they witnessed the immediate visceral reaction to a genuine human gesture. It broke their reliance on digital automation and inspired them to start pitching in-person dinners, hand-delivered one-pagers, and highly personalized tactile touches.
Because people are exhausted by algorithmic perfection. They want to know there is a real human being on the other end who actually gives a damn about their business.
Yeah.
And sometimes, proving that you understand their business requires an incredible amount of courage. Daley Robinson shared a campaign that serves as the polar opposite of a safe, AI-generated email sequence.
Oh, this one was intense.
Very. And before we analyze this, to be clear to our listeners, we are strictly analyzing the mechanics of this strategy from the source material. We aren't endorsing the specific political or social viewpoints of the campaign. We just want to convey the ideas contained in the original post.
Right, maintaining an impartial stance on the politics, but from a purely tactical perspective, what Daley's client executed was remarkably bold.
It really was. So they were selling a SaaS solution into a stagnant market, and they targeted a company that heavily promoted its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. They had banners plastered all over their corporate website.
But when Daley's team researched the actual board of directors, they found a stark discrepancy. The board was entirely composed of white men, save for one individual. It was a classic case of corporate window dressing conflicting with reality.
So rather than sending a polite email talking about synergies and optimization,
Which gets ignored immediately.
exactly, they ran highly targeted ad creatives mapped directly to the decision-making unit of that specific company. The ads directly called out the hypocrisy, highlighting the exact gap between what the company claimed on their homepage and what their leadership team actually looked like.
Wow.
And they positioned their client's technology as the exact intervention needed to expose and fix those internal disparities.
I mean, from a marketing perspective, that is exceptionally provocative. It carries a huge risk of alienating the buyer, but it also demonstrates an unmatched level of specific, fearless research into the account's actual underlying tensions.
It's terrifying to execute, but it worked. They penetrated the account, powered through the buying committee, and won a multi-million-dollar deal.
Because they didn't just understand the demographics of the account, they understood the internal politics.
Yes.
However, and this is an important caveat, Larry Hilodakis reminds us that deep research can easily backfire if the framing is wrong.
Oh, yeah, the cupcake story.
Right. So she conducted incredibly deep research on her target accounts. She filmed highly personalized video audits pointing out all of their marketing gaps. She sent physical cupcakes. She sent custom emails. And she received absolutely zero replies.
Just crickets.
Crickets. And the failure was in the positioning. She was focusing her outreach on what she found tactically interesting. Their mistakes, their broken links, their inefficient funnels. She wasn't speaking to the ultimate business goals of the economic buyer.
Exactly. Sending a cupcake doesn't soften the blow of insulting a director's strategy.
No, it really doesn't.
All of that deep research is fundamentally useless if it just makes the prospect feel criticized rather than understood.
Right.
ABM isn't about proving you were smarter than the buyer.
Right.
It's about proving you intimately understand where they are trying to go, what promises they made to their board, and that you have a specific, reliable vehicle to help them achieve it.
It all circles back to the concept of an integrated revenue system. When your operational foundation is solid, when your internal teams are aligned, when you use signals to time your entry, and when you deploy AI to handle the scale so your humans can focus on deep empathy and consensus building, the result is predictable, scalable revenue.
Well said. If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel and partner marketing, AI in B2B, MarTech, go-to-market, and social selling. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update.
And as you step back into analyzing your own go-to-market strategy this week, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. In a B2B landscape where every single one of your competitors has access to the exact same AI agent's tools, fundamentally capable of writing 10,000 perfectly polite, perfectly formatted emails every single day, what if your ultimate competitive advantage is actually doing the things that cannot scale? What if your true superpower is having the courage to call out a board's hypocrisy, the empathy to navigate the internal politics of a 13-person committee, or just the sheer humanity of hand-delivering a box of donuts to an empty dinner party, turning it into the most profitable conversation you've ever had?